welcome to Joe's Custom Classics, 8 o'clock, Sunday Night Live. I'm Joe. I got the cup to prove it. And tonight we're going to talk, well, we're talking hot rods always, but tonight we're going to talk about a couple different topics. And my special guest tonight, Larry Kozlowski. Welcome, Larry.
How you doing?
Larry, let's talk about, first of all, let's finish what we started talking about before we came on. I want to talk about some prices of what it takes to restore a car. And I listen. I'm a fanatic with this stuff. I follow this stuff like constantly. I follow the prices of cars, parts, availability, you name it. And look, and I've been really following the trend. I know everything goes in cycles. Everything goes in cycles, and the costs of cars that are available to restore are higher than the value of the car when it's restored. So, just for everybody out there who wants to get into a restoration project, keep one thing in mind: 92% of all restorations, like done in somebody's garage, fail. They never get done. 92%, and that was a really chilling fact there, because I most of your stuff you see on marketplace are project cars that nobody finished. So it's I see it as a good thing and a bad thing, because the kind of cars that I pick to restore, I know the value of your purchase price has to be low enough to get somewhat of a benefit, when you go to sell it. And I think I did videos that go back on my videos. I did videos on how to buy a car to sell it to make a profit, because there's a lot of cars out there are clunkers. Like, if the car wasn't desirable back, in 1963, it's still not a desirable car today in comparison to something else of that era. And I always stick by that. And yeah, I'm rambling. I know I'm rambling a little bit. But what I want to say is, people don't understand when you go buy that $2,500, $3,000 clunker that somebody's selling, with no motor, no trans, and you got to put, years into it to restore it, and parts and labor. You're never going to get your labor out of your car. You can't count your labor in your resale. You just can't, unless somebody who's hiring you to build a car. That's a different story, because it doesn't matter. They're building the car because they want that car. That's a different client than somebody, hey, I got a budget, what can you do with X amount of dollars, which you understand that 100%, because you've been building cars forever. And I think you have the same outcomes too. You usually get rid of your cars before they're 100% done anyway, because somebody else wants them.
Sure.
And see, I'm going to ramble a little more, then we'll talk about some chassis building. When I restore a car, what I normally do, I get the car mechanically sound. Motor, brakes, everything that's electrical. I'll get the car sound, and then I'll drive the car, get all the make sure everything's steering correctly. You know what I mean. I get that done, and then cosmetics for me is last. Like, if I got the car dialed in, I'll take the car back apart, and then we'll paint it. New gaskets, windshield moldings, and you know what I mean. Then I'll come back to it, put it all back together. Because if you don't, I find that you're going to lose momentum. You're going to lose momentum, and that's what most people do. They get the car. Let's say they got a '55 Chevy in the garage. and they just completely blow the thing apart, right? Take it all apart down to the frame. Uh, they don't understand the years that are going to go into that car before you're going to see it, back on the road. And I think a lot of people lose interest, and
Yeah.
that's a shame.
Yeah, it is. You'll find out that when you feel like you're about 90% there, you're actually about 50% there.
Yeah,
But the thing of it is what I love to do. I love to build. And like now, my car, the Roadster, you were down to the shop a few weeks back, and my Roadster, for all intents and purposes, finished. It's a drivable car. Take the thing out. The fellow who bought it is probably going to spend 2 days of diddling with little stuff, and then he wants to. My car is in primer right now. He wants to do the finish paint on it. Fine, that's his thing, and that's good. And he will never run out of steam on that. But I like to build them. I don't like to. It's been. I looked at it. It's been 12 years now. I haven't had a car I can drive, and back when we were in the club, I had like what I built about three that I drove while we were in
yeah,
the club together.
yeah.
Different stuff. It's not that I don't finish them. I will finish them. We're very close to finishing them. And but I just love to build them, especially for myself, and I love to build them for my friends too. We've got some really neat stuff in the shop, but it's uh, I know what you're talking about, the money wise. Some of these shops, I mean, we all know the other shops around town here or around in Northeast Pennsylvania area here, those guys, you're looking at 150, 200,000. They want 50,000 up front, to start on a car. Like, if you're building a
Right.
60s Impala or something, you know what I mean? You don't get it in the shop doors without putting 50 grand down on the table. Most guys I know, my friends are normal humans. They don't have that kind of money.
No.
My guys have a body and a carcass they bought for 4 or 5 grand. You know what I mean? I deal mostly with older stuff, pre 48s. It's rare for me to touch anything newer than that, and it hasn't worked out well for me in the future. I know you're better at the newer type stuff, but I do uh, the older stuff. But I'll tell you, you can build a reasonable hot rod if you're careful about how you go about it. If you don't, you have to realize that first thing is what we had touched on earlier is certain trends come and go. All those guys who put those 300,000 into those 69 Camaros are never getting their money back now. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
they're not like quite as trendy as they were maybe 5 years ago or something, maybe a
Right.
little more. Uh, the traditional cars, the easiest car if you're a new person, if you're somebody watching this channel, a new guy who wants to build something that is more fun than you can ever imagine, build yourself a tea bucket. There's loads of them out there on like Marketplace and the Ham and some other things you can buy for really reasonable money. Thing of it is, you have to realize that most of these have for the most part, it's rare unless you're paying top dollar. It's rare to find something that doesn't take some touching up when you get it. We were going to touch a little bit on chassis work later on in this broadcast, but a lot of people do not they do not get the concept, and you can get something that'll go out and go around the block and maybe steer okay, but that's about it. You're going to have to do some work to it. You can buy that T bucket for $7,500 on Marketplace that is running and out there on the road, but I guarantee you're going to have to do some work to it. It's not going to be a good driver.
No.
Good drivers. But what reason I say that is you'll find that everybody who has owned I mean, everybody complains, "Oh, it's a T bucket." That they except that they probably never owned one. Anybody who's owned one, everybody tells me I traded it for a 32 roaster, or whatnot, and they'll say, "I wish I had my T back," because they're just more fun than you can
Yes.
imagine.
Oh,
Awfully fun.
they're a lot of fun, and it's
Yeah, and
lightweight
cheap.
it's cheap
Even
and
even a stock 350 is a terror in
oh
a
yeah.
16 or 1700-pound car. You know, they get on you get on a T bucket, they are a terror. And also the hardest part about a good T bucket is getting a good driver's position. You have to get in there and get a good driver. You don't want to be sitting on it. You want to be sitting in it. You do that, you build the chassis right, and a T bucket is a terror on the street, and you can build them super mega cheap. I know a friend of mine, I put one together for him, and I think we had about 3,500 bucks in the whole car. I must admit, he was the mega scrounger. I've never seen anybody this good in my life. But that's all he had in the whole car, no labor, just parts.
I mean,
But still, that's a car anybody can build. I mean, everybody can get 3,500 bucks together, and the they are just way too much fun. I don't think there was ever any pictures up on this thing, but my Vic Roadster that I just passed on, my 31, is a beautiful car. It's a full Model A Roadster, uh, with a cut Vic body on, so it's got tons of leg room inside and whatnot. Sits really well, but I really have a desire for a 27 again, which is just a T bucket with a slightly longer body, and that that's because they are just too much fun. And I know I'll build that and I'll pass it on to one of my friends as soon as it's done, and I'll build something else. But you know, I always go back to something like that, but you can build cars for reasonable money. You cannot, it's not it doesn't have to be $100,000 project. You can build a 10 or $15,000 car that is perfectly acceptable, looks great, and runs like a champ. There's no doubt about it. You just have to go about it the right way.
now now I was telling you before about prices of cars right now. Certain cars hold their value. Like a Tri
Yep.
Five Chevy right now, still 30
Oh, sure.
35,000 for something that's decent. I mean, not perfect. Something that's decent that you can
Yeah.
reliably go for a ride in. Okay, but cars I saw like a 69 Cougar. Some those things are still like $1,500. I mean, or $15,000
Yeah.
restored. So certain cars are just holding more value. The Mopar stuff, anything that says Mopar right now is three times the cost of anything else.
Mhm.
It's just ridiculous. And I know people want to get as much money for something that they're selling, but they're missing the concept, and I'm seeing things being sold. I wish I could give you examples. I mean, there's some stuff out there that they're trying to get top dollar just because it's a Mopar, and it's just like a four-door Chrysler or a
Oh,
four-door,
yeah.
you know what I mean? But they're still
Sure.
the prices like a Valiant or a Scamp or something like that. They're just not. Those cars are not the
Yeah.
greatest, period.
Yeah.
And they're still
People think that old cars are worth money. Only certain old cars are worth money.
right, right.
Yeah,
That's a concept. I wish people could get it. The problem is there's an ass for every seat, which
yeah,
means like if somebody wants that, I get it. They're gonna pay. They're gonna pay for it. But certain
sure,
cars, not every car was a hot rod. Not every old car was a hot rod. A lot of them were just grocery getters. Okay, and I I don't know. I know the purists out there understand this, but there's just a lot of people that just want to buy something to fart around with, which is great. But it's don't put money into certain vehicles that you're never going to get that out. You know,
yeah.
even close. I like to at least get close.
Yeah, for the most part, four doors. As much as I see guys making some neat stuff out of them, they're still a pariah. You know, people they're not flying.
What?
And
They used to drag race with four doors, station wagons. They used to drag
sure,
race with so there's a purpose for them. I mean, I'd like to build a gasser one day.
well, we're
Just
just talking about money now. You know, two doors are always worth more than four doors. Hard
oh
tops are always worth more than posts.
yeah,
It's the way of the world, you know. It's just like, you know, this is a hobby. It's not about money. I think that too many people now, not too many people, some guys, you see shows on TV and on YouTube of these guys who are flipping cars and things like
yes,
that. Yeah,
yes,
okay. It's not realistic, okay? It's not real. And you have to uh this is a hobby. You should be having fun with it. It's not supposed to drive you into poverty, and it's not something that you're going to be able to use to you know, there are people that make a living flipping cars and parts. You can do that most certainly, but it's a tough way to make a living, you know. And there's no
yeah.
doubt about it.
We know
It's a hobby. We're here to
we
have fun.
we knew a lot of people that did that for a
Yeah.
living. They were flipping
Oh
parts,
yeah.
and
Sure.
you really got to know you got to get them really cheap, and then you got to sell them at somewhat market value to make money to go buy more parts cheap somewhere.
Yeah,
So
and you also have to have the front capital, and you have to have the infrastructure that goes with it and
right,
everything, and there are people who are doing well at that, you know, I mean, there's no doubt about it. But, you know, you have to it's a commitment to do that, and you'd better have the connections, and you're just about devoting your life. You're going from, you know, Hershey to Charlotte to, you know,
yes,
Daytona, and, you know, you're putting a truck and trailer on the road, you know, you're running tractor trailers in and out with parts. It's not an easy business to be in. There are so much better
yeah.
things to be in. Hot rodding is fun, especially old hot rodding. That's fun. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not
I
supposed to be about making money.
I mean, I outrun my money. It's easy. Just I putting that posi in there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's $1,000. Let's just
Oh
say.
yeah.
Well, I have to recoup. I do upholstery, right? Which is that's gonna be cool. That's I shouldn't have showed that, but that's a cool thing. Uh, and that my upholstery compensates for more car parts, basically.
Yeah.
It's just a big vicious cycle. Then I take the upholstery money and I'll put it into some more parts I need for the car. And then as the weeks and months and years go by, the car gets closer to being finished. And then I'll sell it. I'll take that money, which basically I invested slowly into the car, whatever that
Mhm.
profit is, and then I'll start over. I'll start
Yeah.
over
I do the same thing.
with
I do
something
the same
else.
thing.
And it's a
You know,
never ending process.
half of the fun is chasing the parts, finding that part you need. You know.
I enjoy all of this, and I enjoy talking to people, and I enjoy that part too. Meeting new people that are interested in the same thing. The only problem that most of the most of the people that do you know what we do are old or older. You know what I
I don't
mean?
feel
They're
old.
not. They're not. This isn't a young man sport, which I would invite somebody to do because man,
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s, I mean, I've known you. Well, we did the Rumble to the Lake 2009, so
Man.
probably 2008. I would come home from work, and I would be in my garage till 8:30 working
Yeah.
on something. And I was young. I was only a kid. I mean, I was only in my 20s at the time, and I was building the 47 Ford at the time,
Yeah.
and doing all custom brakes. I took the master cylinder and
Yeah.
the I took the '74 Mustang master cylinder, and I took out the single reservoir master. I custom made all that. Swapped the motor, took the
Mhm.
flathead out. I did it
Sure.
all right here in the garage. Um, that was 2008 or nine. So I'm just saying, time has gone by pretty pretty fast, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yeah,
not.
it's true, you know.
I
I used
mean,
to love that. I used to love that 48 you had. That was pretty neat. And the
I that car too. I did all those mods to it. I did I put the kick, not the kick down, the I put the cheater pipes on it with the
Mhm.
caps. Traditional. Remember traditional.
Yeah, yeah, it
And
was old timey.
I was gonna paint it and finish it, and then somebody wanted it. And then I sold
Yeah,
it. I sold it to a guy in Kentucky, that car.
yeah,
Yeah.
mhm,
But
yeah,
I was gonna finish that car. I was gonna lower it, and you
yeah.
know, the whole
I
nine.
remember you put the Chevy in, and I thought it run pretty good with the Chevy in.
It ran, it ran really well actually. But it had the banjo rear. I was always afraid of like blowing that up.
Oh, nah, they work great. Hey, they're banjo rears. They used to put those things in back of Chrysler Hemis and rails. You know what I mean?
Really?
Oh yeah, that was the standard rear. Until the early '60s, virtually every drag rail ran a banjo, narrowed banjo, and they didn't even narrow them for the longest time. Which is why when you go to like the Mocan drags and stuff, you know, the nostalgia drags, you
Right.
still can't narrow your banjos. So everybody looks for 40 rears and stuff that they get that are the 2.5 inches narrower. But um, they used to run those, and all you did took a piece of 1/4 inch plate and you put a nut protector over yourself because your legs went over the rear. You know, you straddled the rear in a slingshot style dragster, and you put a piece of 1/4 inch plate in case you did blow one up. Why it would it protect you, the family, you know, and they those things are still around. I still have one hanging on the wall out here, an old plate made up to protect a banjo, and they work great. I love banjo rears, and a set of 354s in there, which is extremely rare. Although most people don't realize that most industrial hammer mills in a uh, like a stone quarry use Ford differentials to drive their hammer mills. So virtually every gear ratio you could possibly want is available uh, for an old Ford banjo rear to this day with very high quality gears, better than automotive quality. And those things are available. You know, everybody used to try to get Getz gears, and there's still a lot of those around. Some of the other things, banjo rears are great rears. I love 39 Transes. You know, everybody talks about the 78 case, the legendary Ford Trans, and from 1937 up, 1937 to 50, 54, I believe, in the pickups. But the 78 case was the good case. The part number starts with 78. Those are the good cases, and then you get a 7222 top the shift tower because at the double detente you can't get them stuck in two gears. And prior to that, you could get a Ford box stuck in two gears and grenade everything instantly. They're they're not they're not fast shifters, but I used to be able, if you remember that blue 31 Roadster I was driving for a while, I used to be able to pick the with a 283 Chevy punched to 292, and I was running Fuelie heads on it and a set of trips or two fours, depending on my mood at the moment. And I used to be able to pick the front wheels of that car right off the ground with a 78 case box in there. Never broke a transmission. You have to, when you put your trans together, you shim your clusters right, you know, so that there's no slop in there. And you make sure that you take the slack out of the drivetrain before you get on it. And our infamous buddy Jerry. I trimmed his cookies in Wildwood one year at the run. I had him by several lengths across Rio Grande Avenue, and he was running a 390 Caddy in an automatic, and in a Model A. And I walked away from that car with an old 78 case and a 292 Chevy. So it was they can do the job. They are, people don't realize how scary fast those early small blocks were, especially the 65, 66s, where they had the better oiling system. They those blocks were great blocks to make a really hot street motor. And I have heard legends. I never got there myself, but I have heard legends of guys with the right rods and the right valve train were turning 10,000 RPM with a small block Chevy on those things. I have heard it's true. I was able to get about 9 grand out before I needed more parts, but it was they they can turn some insane RPM. It's like not a lot of horsepower. You're looking at maybe 325 there, 350 out of one, but they make insane RPMs, which is great in a light car. Once again, we're back to those light cars. You've got yourself a little roadster, like a 27 Roadster, with nothing on that thing, like no weight. You're looking at a car it's probably in the 1,850 pound range, if you do things right. And you can really make those things perform, and they will come up there and wind out like you can't imagine, all with the banjo rear. Plus the banjo rear just looks so cool under the back. I mean, nothing looks that cool. And a lot of guys, the problem of it is a lot of guys think you got to run the quick change. You run the old Halibrands, or now the rod force center sections. Those things are really neat looking, but they are not as strong as a stock rear. And what everybody does is you take a brass bolt and you weld a slug into uh, your axle case, and you put like a half-inch brass bolt, and then you run it in. A lot of big trucks do this on their differentials. They have adjusting bolts, and the brass bolt rides against your ring gear. And what that does, that keeps the ring gear from jumping the pinion on the rear, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but all the old race cars, they did that in. You'd have brass bolt in there, and as long as you kept that pinion from jumping off that ring gear, you'll never break one of those rears. And now you can even get, I'm trying to think, I think it's Winters is making the kit to use a Mopar Positraction center in an early Ford rear, which is really neat. So, there's all kinds of things. Once again, now you're out of that cheap rod territory.
Well, I remember I had a banjo rear, but I couldn't put my center caps because I had
Yeah,
to run because I
the
couldn't put them
axles.
over the end of the banjo rear. So
Yeah,
you could tell
that's what
visually.
looks cool.
Yes, yes, yes. You could tell visually that somebody got a banjo rear because you
Yep.
can't put nothing over the center. The center cap won't go on.
Yeah. And everybody talks about they were ripping splines out, breaking the splines on your hubs.
Mm.
Well, the thing, because people out there who aren't familiar with them, uh, it's not like a Chevy or a 9-inch Ford axle or something where your axle flange is forged as part of the axle. On a early Ford rear, there's a taper and key on the axle where it comes out through the brake drum and things, and then your hub goes onto that. And what you do, they have this huge castle nut that goes on there, and you have to have you try to torque them to 250 foot-pounds, which takes some effort, believe me. And
Yeah,
I had a torque wrench, and even being a fat boy, I couldn't get that sucker up to that range. So I used to put a piece of pipe and stand on it until I did torqued out, and that
yeah.
worked out pretty good. But if you torque them, you never break the splines. They just stay on there. You'll rip bias ply tires to shreds before you do that. I wouldn't run. The guys used to run like 7-inch, 9-inch slicks on them. That works just fine. Anything wider than that, though, they're going to be pushing the limits of the hubs. But really neat. I love it.
Yeah.
You can put late Ford, uh, like Speedway sells the self-energizing brakes, which are essentially like early 70s station wagon 12-inch by 2 brakes and self-energizing,
Hmm.
and they put them onto an early backing plate. And that's something you can do yourself. You can find a junkyard 70 station wagon anymore to get the emergency brake hardware, everything else you can get. But the uh, best of my knowledge, GM doesn't sell that as aftermarket anymore, and you have to get it out of a junkyard or something. And but you can most certainly do that yourself. It's pretty easy to do, and put the 12 by 2 self-energizing brakes, and then just use what everybody calls the Lincoln drums, the fin drums, the ones with the radial fins on, not like the Buick drums. They go the other way, the round things, which are readily available from just about anybody, and you can have great brakes on there, drum brakes on the back, work as good as a new car. The only advantage of the disc brakes don't stop any better. They just don't fade if you're using them repeatedly, which is why, like now on modern cars and the tuner guys who are doing, you had a guest on that was doing drifting and things like that. They're abusive on brakes doing stuff like that. So the disc brakes, the four-wheel disc brakes work great on that stuff. You can do it, but as far as being on the street, drum brakes work great on the street. Actually, a lot better. You know, uh, disc brakes can
Um.
also get wet.
Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, with a heavy car, you get brake fade. I mean, I know.
Yeah,
Uh, I had I replaced. I got disc I put on the Charger, but the the Oldsmobile, man, I've had those things smoking. I mean, uh, drum brakes, so they fade on you.
yeah.
I mean, um,
The thing of it is, though, is if you're using a set of, most people use Lincoln Zephyr brakes. The the ones that are available, like from Speedway. You can buy them right from there, brand new. If you want them, you can find them. You can still find them at the swap meets. You
yeah,
go to Hertz and you find them. The If you use those, though, they were designed for a car that weighed probably 2 tons. You know what I mean?
right,
They're like into 4,000 pounds. You're putting them on an 1,800 pound car. That car they're loafing. They could stop
yes,
that thing anyways.
yes,
Really, really easy to deal with. Plus, they look cool.
yeah,
And you can buy them. You can buy them really inexpensive. It's not, if you buy everything new, but if you buy everything new, if you're not used to working on them, it's cheaper to buy the like a kit from Speedway where it's all, the backing plates come loaded and you just bowl them on, than it is to pay somebody like me or you to go through a set of older brakes, unless you have some desire for the vintage brakes, you know what I mean? And you see them, but really, really cool stuff there. You can do that. I'm gonna just run drums again. The hell with it. And,
yeah.
60. Get yourself like a 60 pickup master cylinder. So you got brakes on one side and your clutch on the other side, and a single master cylinder. That's like old
Um,
school mentality.
I had somebody, friend of mine. He went junkyard hunting recently, and well, I'm gonna say recently before it started snowing. So probably before Christmas, October,
Mm,
November, he went to the junkyard, and they still had. He sent me pictures. They still had like 56, 50 cars from the 50s were sitting there. So he
yeah,
he, he got some good parts, for my car that I would have never thought. There's still
yeah.
junkyards out there,
Oh yeah.
that
Memory lane. Any of the U pullets have memory lane. They put all the old stuff at one spot. You can go down there and doesn't seem like it's getting picked quite as hard as it was for a while there. There for a while, it seemed like everybody, something to hit the yard and it was a carcass in 2 days. But lately, not so much. Plus, there's a lot of stuff. Uh, the ham always has good stuff on there. And also on the ham, the hokey ass message board, if you get on there, uh, which is all old stuff, it's pre 48 stuff on there. But if you're on there and I think they're pre, well, what does it go to? Pre 62 or something like that
The
on,
ham,
on the
yeah, I
ham.
think
Yeah,
yeah. There's
I think
yeah,
so.
62, yeah.
I think so. And the other one is the Ford barn, which is the equivalent of ham for the restorer guys. But if you're looking for like stocker parts, uh, you know, just about anything between those two there, just throw up an ad. Hey, I'm looking for a set of 48 Ford rear brakes. I guarantee you're going to get a dozen PMs in, the next day. Because there's a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the old guys, uh, they hoard a lot of stuff, but they're more than willing to share it with somebody who's building one, and they just want to
Yes.
see it back on the road.
Yes, my one friend that I talked to on here out in California, he has, let's say, a tractor trailer filled with parts, and he's like, what am I gonna do with all these parts at this point in
Mm,
life,
yeah.
And so he's hooking me up with some really cool. He has some fin valve covers for my 371, and
Mm,
he has some parts that I'm hunting for, Uh,
yeah.
and he has like he said he has 25 fuel pumps for my car. Which what's he gonna do with 25,
Yeah.
fuel pump? I'm just saying, because he says he even told me, he says, if I pass away, my kids don't want this stuff. They're just gonna give it away or whatever, So
Yeah.
let's talk.
Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff ends up being scrapped. It's a shame.
Yes,
Yeah, because
yes.
people don't realize the value of it. I think I
Yeah.
wanna I think the one thing I do think I wanna do is I'm gonna put 2 twos on, my, this car I wanna build now. And to put the 2 twos on, I usually take an older intake, cut it apart, make a new top for it, and just TIG it up, and dress the welds. It looks really good. They call them. There was one on the road trot. I'm trying to think of what they used to call that thing, but it was that works extremely well. Once again, ingenuity in motion. Guys in the years gone by did not have the uh, did not have the aftermarket we have now. Nobody, unobtainium finding in Nixon, which was the only 2.2 intake made for a small block Chevy. 2.2s, two Rochester, two GCs work insanely good on a small block Chevy. They really, really work well, but there's no manifolds available, so you have to make them. That's when your ingenuity comes into motion. There's a company called Dorman, who makes the aluminum flanges to do that for like $35 a piece. They're on eBay, and they're also on like uh, like a lot of the marketing channels. They sell that stuff, and you can get that stuff and put those two twos. Really, really cool. Do you remember the Roach Rod? Do you remember that one?
uh, Not offhand.
That was the one of the first build threads on the ham. It's legendary. And it was like I think it was like a 26 Dodge or something, a turtle deck, and this guy went to great lengths. I'm trying to think of the fellow's name. I'm getting old. He's going to kill me when if he hears about this on the ham. But uh he uh he built this car, and he ran that hot rod power tour with this homemade car. He had like 5 grand in this car total. And he ran the thing, and he won like everything with it. And he claimed he had a 283. It was actually a very hot 350 in it. But he had gone to the lengths where he actually they had the 283 that was originally in there. They did a thing where they, for charity, they drained the oil and the water out of it, and up at, I think it was at Syracuse, they ran it wide open, and you could guess how long it would last before it blew. And it took them like 3.5 minutes or something to blow this motor up, and then they replaced it with a 350. But he cut the numbers out of the block and grafted them into the 350 block. That's how intense this guy was about burying this thing. But they ran the Hot Rod Power Tour, which is
Yeah,
high dollar across the country. I mean,
yeah,
that's like you're playing with big bucks going on that thing. And he actually won the thing in this basically homemade like 26 Dodge or something, flat black, and white wheels on it. Really, really cool. Get on the ham, look up Roach Rod. The car is legendary, but it was exactly what we were talking about earlier. You can build cool things for like no money,
yeah,
or very, very little cash, and but that was a prize example right there, plus it looks cool. And Nixon Manifold now, which is NICSON, they were made in 57, maybe for like a year and a half, maybe into 58, I'm not quite sure. But they became redundant when you could get a four barrel anywhere, you know what I mean? But when the 265s first came out, they were only available in a two barrel. There were no four barrel manifolds for a 265. So they made these where you could put two twos on, which essentially was a four barrel, and they worked really, really well. Now they are impossible to find. If anybody has one, the last one I saw went for around 4 grand, and that was a
wow,
while back for
wow.
a small block Chevy intake manifold. But you just can't find them, So now it's easy to make one, and they work really well if you use the dual plane manifold. Like I try to, if I do get to a swap meet, when I do, and I want to ask you something else. If I do get to a swap meet, I look for old Wyand dual planes. They seem to work the best for uh, building a Roach Rod style intake manifold. And they get,
Yeah, I'm still looking. Well, time is usually a problem. Time and money.
yeah, and with me,
But
yeah,
I want to get that tri power on my 371.
yeah,
I got to get that. That is just the awesome. That's just an awesome setup.
yeah,
I have the linkage. I have the intake. I just don't have the carbs yet, and
yeah,
um, I'm working on it because there's a lot of. I'm working on everything, and that's the problem. You know, uh, a lot of what I do here, I don't record. So
yeah,
I'm finding that recording and editing videos, like when I do upholstery and like this, I didn't really. I'm working on this seat, and it's coming out fantastic. But
mm,
I I I'm recording. I'm record as much of it as I can for content, and then I got to go edit it. And I'm finding that the recording and the editing takes away from my production. It
yeah,
takes away from, like, there's a lot to do, and
yeah, sure,
it gets overwhelming. So I just have to just pick and choose what I do and go from there. But
yeah.
I'm going to hear about this chassis you're going to build, and you sold your 20
The
what was it, 30
31,
31.
thirty-one.
You just sold your 31, and um I wish I had the pictures to pop up here. I don't think I have them on the camera,
Yeah,
but I do have the pictures.
yeah.
Um
That was
so
definitely a cool car.
you're
Insanely cool car.
you're going to build a 27 Ford?
Yeah,
Didn't
RPU.
Phil had a 27 Ford, didn't he? Roadster.
No, Phil had a 29.
29. Okay.
Yeah, 29 Roadster. I just want to think. Did you know Brian Mackey's old the black one that ran the Cyril or Jerry run for a long time? He,
Probably
he was
saw
using
it. Yeah.
he was using it to he actually drove it from his shops in Huntington Beach. Really nice guy too. and his shop is in Huntington Beach, and he had a deal where he was promoting for Sailor Jerry cherry rum, and there's videos on YouTube on here with the Las Vegas run and stuff on that 27. I've always liked that car, and I want to have a low 27 like that, small block Chevy, but it can't be a 350. It has to be a 283, just because I want the RPMs out of it. Two twos on that thing. I'll probably just paint the whole car everything black and be done with it, and banjo rear with a 2627 rear spring, a six leaf, and a lot of the stuff is stuff I have laying around the shop. Uh, definitely low, and definitely uh, it'll be a terror on the street. There's no doubt about it.
Now you're going to build the chassis from
I'm gonna,
scratch,
yeah, oh yeah, it's another one of the scratch chassis.
but
Basically, my technique for the chassis is I have a chassis jig, although I have other people I have come down and looked at my stuff, and they built them on a pair of soul horses in their garage and were able to do it. It takes a little longer. It's nicer if you have a chassis jig to lock it in. Basically, what I do is, one thing is, I hate chassis made out of 2x3 or 2x4 tubing. They just look horrible. The better thing to do is what I do is I have 10 gauge P&O, which means pickled and oiled. And any good steel shop will have that available. You go, I like Steel and Metal in Minersville, PA. Those guys up there, Tom up there, knows hot rods in and out. And if you just call him up and you say, if you if you call up Tom and tell him, because he saves all the CAD stuff for the brake and the plasma cutter up there, from my shop up there, and I wouldn't care if he gives that to anybody. They can have what they want cut, but if they cut the plates for me for the side rails, and then they fold them for me. And a Model A frame is 1.750. It's inch and three quarters wide, and it's 4 inches at its highest, an inch and three quarter at at the tail, and 2 and 5/8 at the front. And so I've probably built 100 of those frames already. And if they're done well, and one of the things I always do is, on my templates that I have for my side rails, which I just made out of some Strathmore board, really heavy Strathmore board. I marked all the original holes, so when I build a chassis, I punch the holes again that would have been in the original Model A chassis, even though it's not a thing. Now you can buy a Model A frame for 250 bucks or something like that, but most of them are pretty heavily rusted, the ones that are left. And there are some good ones out there, but they're not readily available. So it's easier for me to repop the rails. And then I just box them. I either, depending what I'm looking for, and it depends on the car. I either inset box them, where you slide your boxing plate inside the frame rail 3/8 of an inch. Once again, 10 gauge. Now, nobody needs to have 3/16 wall tubing or something to build a frame with. 10 gauge works just fine. It was Ford's, basically that's Ford's factory spec for Model A rails and whatnot. Make my boxing plates out of the same stuff. P&O is not uh is not the blue steel you see. It looks kind of silver and shiny. So you can always tell P&O because the mill scale is off. And then you can weld that thing up. Takes about a day to weld the chassis up, and you've got a beautiful chassis with all the, and hard to tell that it was not an original. I mean, I think when you came down first time you looked at my 31, you didn't know if it was an original chassis or not. Most people didn't realize that that blue Roadster I was driving was on one of my chassis. Everybody thought it was a stock A frame, and it wasn't. But you can make those things up. They look great. Uh, 32 rails are nice, but you don't need them. The Model A rails are inexpensive. super easy to make and work so well. Plus, they're lighter than a 32 frame.
Now
So it,
you're gonna drop this one. Is it gonna be Z'd or
oh yeah, I'll use a Doane Spencer, that was the Doane Spencer Roadster. That was the super famous roadster from the early 1950s, right after World War II. They had that sweep front, which now Gary Bass down in Texas, he has sort of championed that style again, but
Mm,
it's like a sweep in the front where the front drops. You're dropping 4 inches. You don't even have to use a drop axle to run that with a suicide front. You can run a stock Model A axle. I've got like a dozen of them laying in the shop, and you just pick a good one and go to it. And then um, the uh, you see the back it works nice on a car like that. It's a 7.25 inch Z, and that works just peachy on a car like that. And then when I build my boxing plates for the rear, I always make my boxing plates in one piece. That way you do not have to, if you're any kind of a decent welder and have a fairly nice machine, you can not have to fish plate and make your frame look ugly where you see it. You can make that frame look like a one-piece frame, like it was stamped that way. I use a Miller 211. You're probably not going to be able to do it with a 110 welder. You want something that you can get a nice pass in there. You V cut,
yeah.
and you have to be a fairly decent welder. But no rocket science there. A little
No, the
practice and you're good.
welding is you have to have everything clean, and
Yep.
you wanna hear bacon sizzle.
Yeah, nice fit up. If you're not gonna be trying to fill a 1/4 inch hole, you know what I mean? Just
Right.
forget that one. But, take, the Miller works good for me. My I used to have a, 350 Lincoln. I don't have it anymore, but, the Miller is just a good all-around machine, works for everything,
Yeah,
and I
I
love
had a
them.
Miller-Matic.
Yeah.
They work fantastic.
Yeah, great machines, they're really good. Miller, Lincoln, best machine I ever welded on in my life, TIG machine, not a MIG, but a TIG machine, was an ESAB, believe it or not. They're made in Italy, and they are incredibly good machines, I mean, that was a 600 amp three-phase machine, but
Right.
man, make that thing talk to you. It was beautiful. But anyways, we got off chassis there, but the
So
chassis works out well.
all right. So you're gonna do your custom chassis. What do you do for your, let's say, your body mounts? Because you're gonna customize
Yeah.
and move everything. You're not going off of the stock body mounts anyway. You'd have to cut
No,
them off. Let's just
no.
say. I mean,
What
yeah.
I'll do is up front, since this one's not gonna be a channeled car, it's gonna sit on top of the frame, much like Brian Mackey's is, okay? And everybody looks up Brian Mackey Roadster. It's the black one. He's built tons of them out of that shop already, but it's the black one. It's the only black one I think I've ever seen him build. And it really a neat one. And I have this screensaver of that car sitting out by the beach in on this road out by the beach in California. But the funny part is he knocked the trans out when he took that picture. He has an automatic in that one, which I'm not a big fan of. But he knocked the trans out on it, and while he was waiting for the tow truck, he took this picture, and the picture became legendary, but nobody really realized he was waiting for a tow truck because he knocked the trans out on it.
Uh,
And but if you look at that one, you will see the front end setup and stuff. I really love the way that car looks. That car is just spot on. I mean, he nailed it and did so. It's the car is an advertisement for every piece of junk you magnetize from Speedway, And if it stuck fast, why it was perfect. But it was just so well done. You don't have to have the best. If you remember that red 38 I was driving with the moon tank on, I had like $1,000 in that moon tank on the back. It was
yeah.
a custom made 48 incher with the ports in for the gauges and stuff. I'd never waste that much money again. I mean, it was
No.
stupid.
Well,
But
if you put money in one thing, you don't have it for the next thing. So you got to
yeah,
watch. Yeah, you have to watch. Like
yeah,
like my turn signals for my charger are $500. That
yeah,
I mean that's what is the place? Classic Industries. I'm just
yeah,
saying I'm not picking on Classic Industries, but even
yeah.
from a junkyard, they're $250 for a
I
little
know.
tiny. I'm just saying. I'm just saying
Yeah,
you got to
you have a
really
lot more.
watch where you put your money.
Yeah, when you're building a hot rod, an early hot rod, first thing is this is just me. If I wanted to, if I got a Camaro, and I know guys love Camaros, I just took that off the top of my head. Could be a Mustang, could be a Cuda, who knows what. They really don't drive that much different than like a new car does. Okay, so
Right.
if you take a new Camaro off the showroom floor in SS or something, and you take I had a '69 DZ Code 302Z28. Okay, ran like a son of a bitch, but it really didn't drive that much different than a new car. It doesn't drive that much different than the pickup truck does. You know what I mean? But the you take an old rod, you're driving that
Yeah.
thing feels like a cross between a skateboard
Yeah.
and a good go-kart. You know what I
Listen,
mean?
I used to
And
bring when I had my 30 sedan, and
yeah,
I would leave the meetings whatever down there. I would take the highway back home. Man, you feel every bump. You
yeah.
know,
It's not only
boom.
that, it's like, they just, they just like when you change lanes in them or you pass a car in them,
Yeah.
they just feel better. I don't know why. And
Yeah.
then you find out after you play with them for a while, like both you and I have for a long time, I've been playing with them for like 65, 70 years now,
Yeah.
old
You got
enough
me
to
beat.
get into my dad's shop, uh, you find that there's certain combinations are better than other combinations, they
Yes.
just feel right. That's why I've been notorious when I have one on the road. I let guys drive it all the time. People come around and yeah, take it around a block, go down to get some ice cream or something with it. You know what I mean? Because they once they drive one, they can't help themselves because they just feel so good. And that's the whole thing about the old ones with me, they just feel different. You're driving something different. I wanna drive, if I'm gonna drive a later car, I've got my wife's hot Mercedes, the SLK that runs like a son of a bitch, and that thing would trim any rod's, butt on the
Yeah.
street you can't imagine, with a supercharged four-cylinder in it. And, the, my Dodge, my daily driver, they don't drive that much different. They really don't. The thing of it is, when you got an old rod, they just feel good. And no power steering. You feel the road is so responsive. Uh, I've gotten so anal about these things. I even make my own pedals up now. Actually, I told you I was going to send over a bunch of stuff to you. There's a whole bunch of blanks there for 3/8 inch blanks for pedal blanks, and the old Anson style pedals, which are no longer made and very hard to find a set. But I took a set and I made patterns for them, and I run those things off because I make mine out of 1/4 inch plate, plenty stiff, but you're saving almost a pound. You start saving like that, you can get these things down to about 17, 1,800 pounds if you're careful. And that's like in, a good lawn tractor weighs that. And
Yes.
you get these things will really run for you and really
Yes.
run well. So
Yes.
it's fun no end. Plus, like, there's nothing more fun than getting out early in the morning and heading for wildwood in a roaster like that. That's just as good as it gets.
Oh,
You
it's just an adventure, man. Every time you get in them,
can
I'm gonna build one. I'm gonna build like mine was a East Coast style. I didn't have mine wasn't chopped.
yeah,
Um, I kind of liked it not chopped because
yeah,
I don't like looking out a little windshield. I'm
yeah,
tall, but I'm gonna build another one too. As soon as I finish up what I have going right now.
yeah, you
But
and me both.
I see me doing that again. I love all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
have
doesn't
a
get any better.
I have I have a couple friends that stop by that are in their 80s, and they all say the same thing. You know, when they say, you know, when I'm driving my 55, I feel like a kid again, and I think
Yep.
that's what's most important. That's what's most important. It takes you back. It takes you back to that time when you relate to that when you were a kid. You know, so it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, what are you gonna do? You know, like we're old guys now. I'm an old guy. You know, I know that my days are numbered, and I want to have as much fun as I can and be as much of a juvenile delinquent as I can. Yet, you know,
yeah.
and n- I'm never going to grow up. I might as well just face the facts and get on with it. So
I mean,
fun stuff.
uh, we used to cruise Pottstown. We used to cruise the strip
Yeah,
here, and I mean that was, man, that was before phones, and that was before all the silliness. And you know, if we were
oh,
running late, we had to stop down at the I think it was a McDonald's had a payphone. You had to put a
yeah,
dime in and call home so you don't get your ass
yeah,
chewed out when you got home. You know, uh,
yeah.
it was
It's fun, you know. It's the thing of it is it's healthy nostalgia, but the fact of the matter is it's never going to be 1966 again.
no,
So I look at it this way, but back in 1966, we didn't have stuff like the Trog, you know, Race of Gentlemen in Wildwood.
yeah,
The Race of Gentlemen is a weekend of hot rod insanity. You know what I mean? It is so much fun and the ultimate way to go. And it's not even you don't even have to go down to race. You go down to just hang out uptown, and every motel has tons of cars at it, and there's parties underneath every motel.
yeah,
Same thing is as the fall run. The what's it, JSM Productions is running it now. The fall run's the same way. You know, you go down and everybody's out on the street raising hell till the wee hours of the morning. And that's happening now. It's a different scene than it was back in 66 or 65 or something, you know? I mean, I remember that was my golden era was like maybe my golden era was probably maybe 1960 to like 66 or something like that. It couldn't have got any better. That's the ultimate hot rodding that I remember and the ultimate racing. Now, though, it's different, but it's still fun. It hasn't
well,
changed.
one thing that is a lot nicer now is we are treated better from the police.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
They don't
Yeah.
bother they don't bother the old man in the hot rod anymore. But
No, no,
boy,
I used to get knocked off for running no fenders back when Pennsylvania had a fender law.
yeah,
I had a Model A with no fenders on, and the chief of police down where I live used to call me a repeat no fender.
uh,
And he
this
was like he was cool. He just write me up, give me the ticket. He says, "You know what it's for." And you know, I go home, put the fenders on, go over, you know, the motorcycle fenders. Like, you know, I go over, he'd look at it. Okay, I go home and take the fenders off. It was
man,
like,
we used to get tickets for loitering, get tickets for loud exhaust.
oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, well, now, like, the big thing right now is, you know, I don't know if a lot of my friends know it or anything like that. I hold political office, and the, um the big thing among the political circles right now is these illegal drifters out in the street. These, you know, where
yeah,
they kind of just show up and start ripping up a street corner just because people are getting hurt, and they are going to make it very. They don't understand. They are going to make it very, very bad on people with like the rice burners. They really need to control their BS.
I
And
haven't seen much. I haven't. I guess it's because it's winter time now, but I haven't seen any problems with that lately.
no,
Usually that makes the news pretty quick.
yeah, it's very current. You know, there's been some issues. Allentown just had some issues up there, and they have down the shore. They've had some serious issues, and I think they're gonna really come down on the Rice guys, and it's a shame because that's the hot rods of today. You know, but I think they're gonna have a tough summer. So
Yeah,
you know, and hopefully everybody will kind of do what the hot rodders did. The hot rodders kind of got to a point where we behaved on the street and we go to the track on a Sunday afternoon and do our racing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Although not completely. No, nobody's stopped that foolishness. But like by the same token, you just try not to do too many crazy burnouts on a Walmart parking lot and
Well,
whatnot.
that's the thing too. There's just a lot more people now
Yeah, and
than there
it's just
was.
gotten too dangerous. Yeah,
I mean, there's just too many. I say there's too many people. There's a lot of people. Um,
yeah,
in the town that I grew up in here, it wasn't that many. So population has gone up. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't know what's gonna. I don't. That's not my problem. But I
yeah,
can see where that's gonna become like they bothered us with the loud exhaust. They used to bother us with tires sticking out past the fender, and uh,
yeah.
the cops used to pull us over all the time if we see you here one more time, and then, because we would drive the strip.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah,
have a
you couldn't
circuit
pass
we
the
drive.
same point more than so many times in an hour or something.
Yeah,
And yeah,
and my,
they most of the cops are really cool. They don't bother the old guys in the rods. Around town here, there's a lot of people have them around where I live here. Nobody bothers you. They're cool about them. I
yeah.
know half of them are inspected, the other half have illegal plates on, and nobody really cares. As long as you
Yeah,
don't do anything
if
stupid.
if you remember back to 2009, like we were in the first club, and you know even the second club that we started, you know, I think I was the only guy that had like inspection stickers on the car. And
Yeah, I know.
I don't even think
I
they
was
had.
ran legal cars too.
They all had plates from Florida at that time. I think that was a
Yeah,
thing going on.
no
They had a
inspection, one time plate.
right. That was a
Yeah,
but
yeah.
now I don't think it matters.
Right.
I don't think it's a problem like it was before.
No, I think we talked about it once before that it's not so much the whether you get caught with tags or no inspection or something. It's if you're involved in an accident and say somebody would get hurt, okay, you had better damn well have insurance, so you lose everything you worked your whole life for.
Oh
And
yeah,
to have insurance and to have legal insurance on a ride, you have to have plates and it has to be inspected. Because I guarantee the first thing if somebody's, some soccer mom you hit in her minivan is going to call, her attorney, and the attorney's going to show up, look at that car, and say, "No legal inspection. This
yeah.
thing was unsafe for the road. It's your fault."
That,
So, it's so easy to get a Pennsylvania street rod title. I can't believe people still buy titles in Pennsylvania. It is so easy to get that title. And when you get that title, you can legally run with no fenders, no bumpers, no hood, no anything. I mean, it's SEMA wrote the regulations, especially
right,
Equipment Manufacturing
and and
Association.
and
So,
that's thanks to Ed Randell.
yes, Ed was a good guy.
Ed
34
Randell did
Ford.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with a 34 Ford.
Um.
Yeah, when he was governor.
Oh yeah, I'm a big proponent. Everybody I talk to that I can preach to about classic car insurance, you can pick one, Grundy, Haggerty, but
Yeah,
don't use your regular car, State Farm, whatever, to put on your old car. That is
uh,
asking for trouble. Um,
well, they most of them won't ride them. You know what I mean? I know
right,
State Farm has some deal going down with Haggerty now, I believe, where they're going to market for Haggerty.
yeah,
I like Taylor, but that's just personal choice.
yeah,
American Collector is supposed to be the least expensive right now. I'm not sure, where they're at, but they're supposed to be the least expensive right now. Hot rod insurance, if you get a regular rod, if you have SR plates, which is Pennsylvania street rod plates, and the if you have SR plates, your insurance is probably about $200 a year
oh
for everything.
yeah.
That's full coverage.
I
And
have
and
for both my cars that I have here right now. I
mhm,
have full coverage, like max. And actually, when I talked to the lady over the phone when I was my cars aren't like, well, the one's not done yet. It's not even really
Yeah.
streetable yet. My Oldsmobile, I could drive that anywhere, but she upped my insurance to like $25,000 worth of coverage on the car. That's, I told her it's not done yet.
Yeah.
It's not honestly, it's not worth that yet. It might be one day when I finish it. But she's like, no, $25,000. She looked in her book, and I was like, and it only comes out to like 200 some dollars for both cars, full coverage a year.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
no there's no restrictions. I mean, there's
No,
it's not like I can't drive at night, or you know what I mean. It's
no.
which is fantastic because I don't need inspection. I don't have to go. Well, there's no engine lights to worry about, but I don't have to go get an inspection. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to have all the glass. You can't have no glass mixed. You can't have broken glass when you take the pictures.
No, no.
There was a couple stipulations.
That's just
Um,
common sense, though.
Other than that, I think you get four pictures of the car, front, sides, and rear.
Yeah.
No broken
Mhm.
glass, and I think that was. I think that was it. I mean, other than that,
Yeah.
you're good to go, and you got insurance. I mean, it's not that
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah, it's easy to do. It's very easy. They have some people scare people. They talk about you hear all your buddies talking about all this stupid stuff, and it's a simple process. The state there's a little lady up at PennDOT who does a lot of their street rod titling. She's a little black lady, coolest person around, and she knows hot rods so bad. She knows stuff that I don't know. She is like all over me about stuff. You know what I mean? She is so cool. And she is so nice to go up there and she helped me. You go up, get a number, go upstairs, you sit down at her desk and you go through and she does your paperwork for you. You're out of there. And I
Yeah.
take them up. You can send them up in the messenger. I just go up because I come back the same day.
Now, in our state, for street rods, you can't have a fuel cell, and you can't have because actually, when I had my 30 sedan, when I had my 30, I still had the original gas tank, which was right on your lap.
On your lap, yeah. You
Yeah,
can you can have a fuel cell in PA. PA regs read that the tank must be open to below. And the reason they want that, if you get a hole in the tank or you get a leak in a line or something, they don't want the gas like, guys put them in back of the seat in like a two-door or something like that. They don't want the gas like laying on the floor there for obvious reasons or for in a confined area. So if as long as it's open to be low, they don't care if you have a fuel cell, but you cannot have a tank inside the car. It has to be outside. If it's in, it cannot be in the pickup bed. It has to be underneath or something there
right.
because it has to be open to below. And if you have it open to below, they're pretty cool about it. The fill neck must fill from outside the car. You cannot fill from inside the car. I forget who had one. Was Dan's son? He had a black two door there for a while, and he didn't have back windows. And he used to put the hose in the back window and fill the tank behind the seat. If you remember that stunt, I always was worried about that. Needless to say, he didn't have plates on it and stuff. But that used to bother me. I always thought that was really dangerous to do that. I no, I have no joy in
Hey,
pyrotechnics like that. So
some of the guys were driving around with no floorboards in.
yeah, I remember.
None.
Yeah, we, that was common. I remember we were down at the what was the Rockabilly Run down near just outside of Philly. I was
The
down there with
Lattimore.
No, no, not Lattimore. This was back in the Ukrainian American Association or something like that. And I was
Hmm.
down there with our buddy Ace, and he had his friend had a car. He had two kids in with him. They were probably like maybe like 6 and 8 years old in like this roadster, no floorboards in the thing. You were looking out at the street, he just kept telling the kids to sit on the seat. I was thinking, this guy's driving home with his kids in the car like that.
Yes.
That's insane. But people do stupid stuff. I had
Yeah.
a friend. I had a friend who they told him about having floorboards in, so he put floorboards in out of out of expanded mesh. And you ought to drive that car one time in the rain, you'll never do it again. It was like,
Yeah.
horrible.
Like you could see the road going by. There
Yeah,
was no floor. I mean,
I know.
I wouldn't drive. I mean,
Yeah,
I have more sense, I think. I made it this far, I should say. Uh,
yeah.
those people usually don't make it far.
No, no, they're usually that's the stuff that somebody should step in on, I mean, you see some dumb stuff, but, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do? There's
yeah,
some neat stuff out there too. It's all fun. Everybody's just having fun, but you
that's
gotta use
all.
a little sanity. You don't wanna end up dead having fun. It kinda takes
No,
the fun out of it.
I kind of like to be sensible. You know why? You know why? Because when I was younger and I'm doing 120 miles an hour, I'm not thinking I got drum brakes, and I'm not thinking, uh, you don't think I wasn't thinking about it. We were
Yeah.
just flying,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. We had no seat belts. We had
Yeah.
there was no roll. I had a roll bar in a car. It's just radio blasting going down the
Yeah.
road. And now, you think back, wow, what if I had to stop or something?
Oh, yeah. I always worry. I never worry about me. I mean, I'm used to doing stupid things. You're in a rod, people worry about, oh, aren't you worried about you don't have airbags in there? What do you have airbags on a motorcycle? No, it's no different. So,
No.
we're all used to riding as well as driving, so if I hit something, I'd rather hit it with a rod than a bike.
Well,
But
I'm not skydiving without a parachute, but it's just it's what are you gonna do? Just stay in the basement with some bubble wrap? I mean, you gotta
yeah,
enjoy
yeah. You
something.
gotta die from something, die from it should be fun. But,
Yeah. And to be
but,
honest, like I said, I think I made it through my younger ages where people didn't
yeah,
think, I was gonna.
well, I don't worry about me, I worry about my wife.
Yeah.
I have her with me a lot of times, and I make sure so I'm
Yeah.
careful. I've gotten very conscious when I'm building windshield position to make sure if you hit something,
Yes.
nobody's forehead comes down and hits the windshield on the edge.
Right.
I make sure, things like that are very conscious when you're building. That just comes from years of
I
experience.
mean, when I replaced all the glass in that car, didn't have tempered glass in it.
Yep.
I mean, that's safe.
Yeah, in your 31, it had plate glass in from the factory, the 31.
Yes, yes. If you get
Yeah,
in an
but
accident, it's just shards of glass flying.
yeah, yeah,
No.
it's just like a house window. It's, like you don't wanna be hitting that stuff.
And then the gas
And
tank's on your lap.
yeah, well, that was all I always thought that was interesting, Do you remember do you know what a Bradley heater is?
Yeah, isn't that
It's
like a
a
little gas heater?
It's a gasoline heater. So it goes on the firewall under the passenger side on like a Model A or something, and you split the line that comes out of the tank on the top, right above. It's in your cowl, and you run that line, and then you light the Bradley heater, and it burns gasoline inside the car underneath the fuel tank while you're driving. So they were. I
And correct me if I'm wrong, they had alcohol in the radiator.
Well, yeah, that was the early antifreeze. But if you remember, there used to be a large petcock on the front of a Model A block.
Yeah.
So most people could not afford the alcohol. The alcohol was expensive back then. So what they used to do is when you come home at night, you'd open the petcock, drain the water out on the street, and then in the morning before you drove anywhere, you put water back in the car. A Model A will completely drain the block and radiator off of that petcock in the front of an A block.
Yeah, but
And
in the winter that would freeze the block, everything if you didn't drain it. You'd have
yeah,
to.
you had to drain it. You had to put it in. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have like now everybody runs like 50-50 mix and stuff. They didn't have any of that stuff back then. And alcohol to mix the alcohol with the water would took about 2.5 gallon of alcohol, which was extremely expensive back then.
Yeah.
And so they people just drained them. If it came from that way from the factory,
Hmm.
they I think it was 33 before they came from the factory with antifreeze in.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That was a long time ago.
yeah. I never
Wow.
had to worry about it.
Larry, it's almost 9:30 here. It's 9:20.
Oh, let's get the hell out of here.
We talked for an hour, almost an hour and a half. Um,
Yeah,
and that flew by. Listen, like I said, everybody watching, we do this every Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Um, like a Sunday night live, 8 o'clock. And I have guests on, usually Larry. If not, I have somebody else who wants to come on, that they usually get in touch with me and we'll talk about cars, I
yep.
I could talk I could talk about cars 24 hours a day if I could stay awake. So this is perfect. Larry, I appreciate you coming on and you're always welcome and we'll do this again and again and again
Yep.
and again. And
Have to treat you some chassis picks.
I have I got some give me some pictures of the chassis that's coming out and we we'll come up again and we'll talk about some more stuff next Sunday. Try to stay warm. It's going to be very cold this week. 4, I think, on Wednesday. So be good. Thanks everybody watching. I'll see you again real soon. Watch all my videos. I'm doing upholstery. Look, I have a lot to do. I'm doing Evil Knievel type upholstery this week. I got to get stuff done. I got so much stuff going on. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again, Larry. Appreciate it. Good night.
See ya. Bye.